Welcome back. Swati Piramal, you spoke about GST. Even last year there was a roadmap set. The year before that also we heard something on GST, but no forward movement on that front. An empowered ministerial panel has been set, and after every meeting, the central government seems to be compromising more and more. Do you expect that reform to roll out at all in the next couple of years?
I think, in fact, things are getting worse because in VAT in many of the states are changing their rates. So it's making industry very inefficient. You have to do different rates in different states, and that really must change to being uniform. I think sometimes the central government must actually make great effort to convince the states, do whatever is necessary to bring it, because I think the advantages far outweigh all the disadvantages of having an inefficient system. The transaction costs, for example, on drugs and pharmaceuticals, which is a essential commodity, are so high. And what is the need to waste, have this cascading series of taxes where you can sell something in a much more efficient and affordable way for every citizen. And I think the same must be true for various other goods. So really, the government has to press the accelerator on GST. And direct tax, of course, it needs to really have more inputs from industry before it does that. And I think the finance minister is very pragmatic about it.
Right. Rajan Mittal, GST is something that, again, you said earlier as well, we've been talking about for a while, but the structure that's coming out right now, too much of compromises from the central government, a dual GST rate structure, not really desirable. Would you say that?
As Swati rightly said, this has been in discussion for a while, and the finance minister has been very pragmatic and very hopeful. I wish and we hope from industry's point of view that politics is left behind and the states need to come around. Most of the states who had refused or had resisted VAT at that time are the states which have got much more revenue, and I'm sure GST is going to make the same jump and have a quantum increase. Also, it makes much easier for cross-border movement efficiencies to come into play. I'm hopeful that the last round of discussions that I've had, some breakthrough should come in. And because this is one major tax reform this nation is taking a step towards after decades. And similarly on DTC, same issues, but I would agree with Swati that some more consultations must happen with industry leaders, and we must come around which is sustainable and long term.
Right. Till such time that we get more clarity on the DTC, Swati Piramal, do you expect something from the government on the direct tax front in terms of tinkering of personal tax rates, or maybe even reducing the corporate tax rate, which has been a demand of the industry for a while? Do you expect some relief on the direct tax front in this budget, or do you think the government will choose to play cautious because DTC is in any case coming?
Yeah, I think it won't do that dramatic changes in the direct tax code, because you can't keep on doing it. It has to be done altogether. But certainly they can do something on corporate tax, reduce it as something that we've been asking for the last 3 years, reduce MAT, which is already doubled. They can do a lot of other things which will make things more efficient. So honestly, I hope to see those. I think the finance minister is quite dynamic and he really knows what has to be done. But direct tax code, I don't expect dramatic changes in this budget. I expect it to come immediately after, as soon as the DTC code is implemented.
Right. Mr. Korakiwala, what is your big expectation from the government as far as the taxation is concerned, both on the direct and the indirect tax front? What do you think that the government needs to do in this budget as far as taxation is concerned?
See, one of the other way to look at India is how do you make India competitive in a global sense? And if you look at about 119 countries, the average tax rate of these 109 is 25%. And I think India, from a long-term point of view, either they do it this year or next year in direct tax, we have to bring it to a competitive 25%.
Right.
As far as the GST is concerned, I think government must bite the bullet, both central and state together. And it's a very urgent need to create a single India movement of goods that will improve the revenue, as Rajan rightly said, enormously. I don't think people have any idea how much it can benefit.
Right. Chris Gopalakrishnan, everybody is talking about direct tax code, and that obviously means that the STPI scheme will now not get an extension. Are you hopeful that there could be some change on that front, or have you reconciled to the fact that STPI is pretty much over?
I see that the government is moving towards a simplified tax regime through the direct tax code. And the indications that we get are that the STPI scheme will not be extended. but they will have to look at, how can we stimulate small companies, how can we stimulate entrepreneurship, how can we make sure that small companies get some advantage early on. So that's something probably the government should look at. We need to see new companies emerging, new technologies, new innovations brought to market and things like that, and support for small companies is probably something the government should look at.
Right, Rajan Mittal, final word from you in a sense. What do you think is going to be the big revenue kicker for the government? Spectrum, obviously, because the government has seen money there last year with 3G auctions. This year for FY12, what do you think is going to be the big revenue kicker for the government? Because that's important in a sense, isn't it, to help rein in the revenue deficit?
No, true. Last year we saw that revenue stream coming in. From industry point of view, we also hope that some more 3G spectrum, BW spectrum is also brought in even at in this budget. That could be is much needed for the industry's need of spectrum. Will also generate revenue from the government point of view. But as you earlier had pointed out, revenue is one source. I think we need to really apply our mind on the expenditure side. I think it's important to balance both of them.
All right, Mr. Khurakiwala, I'll let you have the final word. If you were the finance minister, what is it that you'd most definitely do in this budget?
I would like to play that role in this such tricky situation. But I believe that whatever we do in budget, the growth is what drives India today and is going to drive tomorrow. So all the various elements which we discussed today, I think those things have to balance so that this growth momentum which we have is not getting negatively impacted. In fact, it should be accelerated.
All right, don't let the growth momentum be negatively impacted. In fact, it should be accelerated. That's the word coming in from Habeel Khurakiwala. In fact, that's the word coming in from our entire panel. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Mr. Rajan Mittal from Delhi, Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Ms. Swati Piramal, and Mr. Khurakiwala right here in the studio. Thanks so much. Hopefully, the finance minister is listening, and this will not be another of the same budget, but will be a pro-reform budget. We'll have to wait till the 28th of February to get to know the answer to that question. Thanks so much, all of you, for watching the show, and stay tuned to ET Now for news and updates.